Hey, so Halloween's coming up.
Ooh, I love Halloween.
Yeah, me too. It's my favorite holiday.
My favorite thing about Halloween is a William Shatner mask turned inside out and painted white. What's yours?
Um, that was particular. My favorite thing about Halloween is carving jack-o'-lanterns.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's weird. Another thing that I love about Halloween is a child psychologist standing by a hedge talking about how evil his patient is.
What?
Yeah.
I've never experienced that.
Oh, and another favorite thing about Halloween is when all the adults in the neighborhood have disappeared to a swingers party and all the kids are on their own.
What are you talking about?
Halloween.
I'm talking about the holiday Halloween. Like, these are very particular. They're not about anything, like, they're too specific.
Well, I was talking about the movie Halloween.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it?
You haven't seen it.
No way.
You're out of order!
You're killing me, Smalls.
Fasten your seatbelts.
You're tearing me apart!
Houston, we have a problem.
What we've got here is failure.
Conceivable. God damn you all to hell!
What's up, Cinnabuns? Welcome to Spooky Dooktober on
You haven't seen it?
This is the month where I make my wife watch spooky movies that she never cared to see. I'm your host, Joey.
And I'm the girl who's running through the movies, dropping the knife next to all of the serial killers. His wife, Erin.
You're dropping a knife next to serial killers?
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed in the movie, but every time she dropped the knife, it was right next to Mike Myers.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, why are you dropping it next to him? Let him, look for it.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest, criticisms of horror movies is, why did you do the dumbest thing?
Yeah. And then also, at the end, when they go downstairs, when they're downstairs again, the knife that he first had is still by the couch. So he must have gone into the kitchen to get it. Again, I mean, horror movie logic doesn't make sense, but.
Yeah. I mean, this was also an extremely low budget movie. There are some discrepancies to get into with this movie.
Oh,
for sure.
definitely.
But it, by the way, we're covering Halloween 1978, one of the most influential horror movies of the last few decades, I would say.
And it was also the Jamie Lee Curtis's first movie.
Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis's first movie. There's a ton of lore around this movie. There's not. This movie's very short.
Mm-hmm.
Not a whole
I
lot.
liked that it was short.
Me too. I would think horror movies should be short.
Yeah.
No more than 100 minutes, please, on a horror movie. With a few exceptions, like The Omen or The Exorcist or something like that. But this movie was very influential, but it was also influenced heavily by, Psycho. It's Jamie Lee Curtis's first movie, and she is the daughter of Janet Leigh, who was in Psycho.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, she was the woman who gets murdered in the beginning.
In the shower?
Yeah, she's the one who gets murdered in the shower. Her dad was Tony Curtis, who's a famous actor. You know who Tony Curtis
Nope.
is? No. Well, I can't really explain. See, I don't know what he's been in. And Psycho was influenced by Ed Gein.
Yeah.
Which also spawned Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Silence of the Lambs.
So Ed Gein is
he wasn't really a serial killer because he only killed 2 people, I think. But he was also a grave robber, and he made lamps and stuff out of
oh my god,
dead bodies. Yeah, real macabre stuff. But it was back in the 50s. And it was so crazy that it inspired all these movies to be made. So Halloween was partially inspired by Ed Gein. There should be a game. Remember 6 Degrees of Separation from Kevin Bacon?
It's just 6 degrees
6
of separation.
Yeah, whatever. So you can connect anybody to Kevin Bacon in 6 steps. Like Kevin Bacon was in this movie with this person who was in this movie with that person.
Okay.
Right? But I bet there's a way you could play like an Ed Gein, like 6 degrees of separation from Ed Gein, because so much stuff
was inspired by it.
Yeah. So this movie, sorry, I kind of got off on a tangent, but I'm tired. I've been at work all day. So this movie was partially inspired by that because John Carpenter, who wrote and directed the movie, was inspired by Psycho, which was influenced by Ed Gein.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
So
that makes sense.
What is your background with Halloween, the holiday, and the movies? Have you ever seen any of the Halloween movies?
I have not seen any of the Halloween movies. I've known of them because, I mean, you can't go anywhere without not knowing Michael Myers.
Right.
He's such a big, like, he's in one of the original horror movies. Like, if you think about the top, like, 10 horror movies, not even 10, maybe 5, his name is on that top 3 even list.
Right.
Because you think of, what I think of is all of the masked serial killer movies, like horror
the
movies.
psycho slashers.
Yeah. So I always think of Jason, Mike Myers, and Ghostface. Those are my, like, the top 3 that pop in my head.
That are in your head?
That are in my head. I mean, there's definitely more.
Yeah. Ghostface is kind of a new addition to it, but
yeah,
then
but
you have Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, Freddy Krueger.
Yeah. For me, the big 4 is Jason, Freddy, Michael, and Leatherface.
Leatherface, yeah.
And then Ghostface is a later addition, but
yeah,
a good one
and
still.
I'm a little bit younger than Joey, so
yeah,
I remember watching Ghostface, and I feel like Ghostface has become more of like a lot of people like him, like the character.
Right. I only saw the first Scream. That was it. I haven't seen any of those.
I've seen the first Scream. I think I've seen the second one too.
Oh, I might have seen the second one, but I kind of don't think I did. But what about the holiday Halloween?
So the holiday Halloween, I've always loved Halloween. That's always been my favorite time of the year. I think it's when I was younger, I loved Halloween so much because we got to dress up and be other people. And that should have been like my big sign, like, Erin, you love theater. But I've always loved dressing up, even whenever I'm at school and we have any like holiday things or anytime people are like, hey, we're going to dress up. I'm like, I'm all in. I love dressing up.
Yeah, you do. I can attest to that. You dress up any chance you can get. And
then also I like, when my daughter has stuff at school, I'm like, we got to do it. Even if it's like, you wear a blue shirt. I'm like, you got to wear the blue shirt.
Yeah. Yeah. Joliet loves to dress up too, but that's not weird for an 8-year-old.
Yeah. But yeah, I've always loved to dress up. I've always loved to play other characters and be other people. And so my whole life, a lot of times my mom would make my costumes. My favorite costume ever. You want to hear it?
Oh, I would love to hear this.
My favorite costume ever was what were those little sky dancers?
Sky dancers? They like fly up in the air?
Yeah, they fly up in the, they had another name though, I think.
Oh, I don't know.
But maybe it was just called sky dancers, but they were like the little girls that were like, they had wings and then you would push a button and they would fly up in the air and it like spin around.
Yeah.
I dressed up as one of those one time and I got to get my mom to post pictures of me dressed up in that. We went to like a Christmas or a church Halloween thing. Uh-huh. And we bobbed for apples. That was the most memorable Halloween I can remember. Like,
wow.
It was, and I was very young. I was younger than Joliet. I think I was like 4 or 5.
Wow, and you remember that?
I remember it so vividly. So I've always loved Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. Like, I don't care if you give me no presents. I want to be able to dress up and eat candy and just hang out with my family and do stuff on Halloween. That's my favorite thing.
Yeah. I also love Halloween. For a long time, I was like one of those Halloween all year around type guys. Obviously, you know the way I dress.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I love it's a nice time of year, especially where we live in southern Texas. It's starting to cool off.
Yes, finally.
And it's starting to feel good outside. And it's getting darker earlier. It's just a spooky time of year.
What better way to celebrate than to dress up and go run around to people's houses?
Yeah, and you living in the city, I lived in this big neighborhood, and you could go trick-or-treating, and there was a mall down the street. During that time in the 80s when everybody was afraid of poison candy and razor blades, even more so than now, my parents would take us to Sharpstown Mall, and they would have candies. People who worked in the stores would hand out candy, and it was great because the stores were so close together. You could get a ton of candy.
Yeah.
And if you're like 4 or 5, you can't really walk that far. So we would get tons of candy, and we never bought costumes from the store. We would just like go through our parents' closets.
Aww.
And like my dad used to wear suits to the office in the 80s. So like I would get his like an old vest and a hat and be like, I'm a businessman. And like,
that's so cute.
Yeah. And then another year that I vividly remember was I was taking karate, or I was done. I know I must have been done taking karate. And I had the white gi, you know, the karate gi. And my mom bought clothing dye. And we dyed them in the washing machine black. And then I figured out how to tie a shirt around my face so it looked like a ninja mask.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and we went to the mall for that Halloween too, and I was just running around like I'm a ninja.
Yeah, that's another thing that I love so much about Halloween is seeing all the kids dressing up. It's such a fun time. And I know that there's a lot of people that don't like Halloween, or like the religion doesn't allow them to do anything for Halloween, and I always thought that was so sad.
Yeah, it really is.
Because it's my favorite time of the year.
Yeah, though I mean, if they live in a place where nobody celebrates it, it's one thing, but when you are the kid who gets to watch all the other kids have that fun, it's pretty devastating.
Yeah, but I always felt so sorry for them.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm saying
yeah, I know what you mean. But then something that you brought up is like being able to go around Sharpstown Mall. I grew up in a really small town, and there's not a lot of houses that are close together. So we would go to Main Street, and there would be like, that is where most of the houses are. There's like 2 or 3 blocks of just houses. Okay. And so everyone would go by the market basket. They would go up and we would go through those streets. And we would probably make it down 2 or 3 streets, but we would have tons of candy because everyone at those houses, even if they had kids, like one of the parents would take them to go trick-or-treating, but the other parent or someone else would stay at the house and give out treats, because there were always people at their houses,
right,
giving out candy, because there weren't a lot of people. And then eventually, like when I got a little bit older, they stopped doing it, and they started doing trunk or treat, and everyone would line up their trunks in the park, and we would go to the trunk.
They would line up their butts?
The butts of their vehicle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Did I say butts?
No, you said trunk.
Oh.
I was thinking like junk on the trunk.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, bad joke.
The butts of their trunk. Yeah. But they would have candy in their trunk.
Right.
So I hated that. I wanted to walk to the houses.
Yeah, that's way more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks when you live in an area. Now, I live in the same neighborhood I grew up in, and it's not the same anymore. Like barely anybody hands out candy these days.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks. You have to go to a nearby upper class neighborhood. Mm-hmm. But it's still, our daughter still has a great time during Halloween.
Yeah.
And then, of course, as you get older, you kind of grow out of the trick or treat phase, but you want to hang out with your friends, and you go to Blockbuster and you rent a bunch of old scary movies.
Yeah. Like
I remember doing that. Did you ever do that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, when I trick or treated for a long time actually, because I had younger siblings, so I
Right.
always used it as an excuse to go trick or treating.
Mhm.
But sometimes, whenever we got a little, when me and my older brothers got a little bit older, there was like a couple times where we would go to Pasadena, and we would go trick or treating.
Pasadena, Texas.
Yeah, we would go trick or treating with my cousin because they lived in Pasadena and they lived in a nice neighborhood.
Yeah, they lived in a big neighborhood.
And there's a lot of houses over there doing trick or treating. So that was always fun. That's something else I always loved is going trick or treating in Pasadena.
Wow. So, but what I was going to ask you was when you got older and you were, would you get together at your friend's house and watch horror movies? or
Well,
anything?
no, I was more on the party side of Halloween. So like, hey guys, we're going to have this crazy party on Halloween. I was always into those. I was looking at something.
You see what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to move the conversation into
the
the
movie.
theme of what our podcast is about.
Yes.
Which is movies.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of movie watching you did on Halloween?
I'm saying I would go to swinger parties.
Oh.
Just kidding. No. I mean, I didn't really watch movies with my friends for Halloween. We would party.
Okay. Well, you like Hocus Pocus, right?
I do. I love Halloween movies.
What's your Halloween movie thing is what I'm trying
What's
to
my
get to.
favorite Halloween movie?
Like, or not, no, just what was your Halloween movie thing? Like, did you watch a movie around Halloween?
No.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
we would. So, I mean, when I was, no. That's what I'm saying. Like, instead of doing movies, we would go out and get drunk.
Okay.
There's not much to do where I'm from.
Yeah, but you can, watching a movie is a thing to do.
Yeah. But getting drunk is easier to
Okay.
get through the depression.
All right. So you didn't watch scary movies on Halloween. You watched Hocus Pocus and you got drunk. Not at the same time,
Yeah.
though. Okay.
I also liked Halloween Town. That was a
What's
Disney.
Halloween Town?
It was a Disney movie.
Oh, never heard of it.
It's a kids movie, but it was scary, kind of.
Yeah, whatever.
For me, it was,
You remember Nickelodeon's Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember when that came out and I watched it and it was so lame. It was like, well, I'm already like staying up late and watching horror movies on USA Up All Night. It was like,
yeah.
so that Nickelodeon crap was not scary, even though I was the
Yeah.
right age for it.
Well, also,
My brain was broken from such a young age.
the other thing is, I was scared of like horror movies for a really long time. I didn't really get into horror movies until I was an adult.
Right.
So like even when I was a teenager, when people would watch scary movies, I was terrified.
Right.
I remember being like a preteen going to my cousin's house and we were watching The Exorcist on the 4th of July. And I had nightmares for months, like, probably a whole entire year.
Yeah. Well, you grew up Catholic.
Yes.
And that's a very scary movie for Catholic people, I think.
I mean, any kind of scary movie. There were other ones. There was one about a tooth fairy.
Oh yeah. What was the name of that
I
one?
don't know.
But
Something in the
anyway,
dark.
I mean, but I was just talking about Exorcists in general. Like the people, when I saw The Exorcist when I was 12, and I thought it was boring
Mm-hmm.
because I was like just on the cusp of becoming an atheist kid.
Okay.
But it wasn't scary to me.
Yeah, but I
know?
mean, I was pretty religious then, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But you talk like adults who saw that, who were full grown adults when they first saw that movie, were scared of it because they were religious.
Yeah.
You know, and they believed that they could be possessed.
Mhm.
Like I didn't. I was like, so what if a little girl is possessed? Like I live in a completely different house.
I remember I had nightmares that night at my cousin's house because she had stairs.
Ooh.
And I would constantly look over at the stairs waiting to see Tiffany crawling down the stairs backwards. I would have died.
Oh my God.
I would have literally had a heart attack
Yeah.
at like 14.
Yeah. Well, I'll say it again. The movie, we covered this movie early in the podcast, but The Fly, that was the movie that scared the shit out of me when I was
Yeah.
a kid. So I remember being up late at night thinking that Jeff Goldblum was going to crash through a window and try to stop me from having an abortion. because that's what happened in the movie. But yeah, that was the movie that broke my brain. And after that, I was never really scared of a horror movie again. After I would watch one and be scared during it, but then after it was over, I was fine.
Yeah, no, I held on to that shit for a long time. So like if I would watch something, I would be terrified. I always had scary dreams and nightmares. So growing up, I didn't want to watch scary movies because I know I would just be more scared because I was already terrified of the dark.
Yeah.
So
you still jump at movies when we watch horror movies.
I like them, but I do get scared.
Yeah.
I'm a very easy scarer.
Yes, you
like
are.
even if someone walks in the room, I'm like, oh my God. Just because I don't know. I'm just a jumpy person.
Right.
So yeah. Which brings us into Halloween.
Halloween, 1978's Halloween. Written and directed by John Carpenter. It was also written by his then girlfriend, Deborah Hill, who wrote the dialogue for the female characters in the movie. John Carpenter was approached by a producer to make this movie, and John Carpenter only asked for $10,000, but he had some demands. He wanted his girlfriend, Deborah Hill, to be able to produce it because she wanted to be a producer. He wanted full creative control, so he wrote and directed it, and he wanted his name above the title. Do you know what that means? Do they have that in theater?
No, I mean maybe, but I haven't noticed it.
Yeah, you know when like you see a movie and it'll be like Stephen King's It. Yeah, that's above the title, right? So that's a pretty big thing to negotiate. But the guy's like, sure, whatever. So that's why the movie is. If you see the title in the beginning, it says John Carpenter's Halloween. So he negotiated his name to be above the title, and the movie was made for I think a little less than $400,000, and it grossed $47 million.
Wow.
Yeah, huge return on the budget, and
I bet it still makes tons of money.
Yeah, I bet you he gets a huge check every November.
Yeah,
because of all the people watching it. And I think a couple years later...
And the licensing, just for like costumes and stuff, there's always a Mike Myers costume.
Oh, yeah. They have it all at, like when you go to Spirit Halloween, and it's specifically Halloween themed.
Halloween themed.
Yeah, every time they make one of the mini sequels, John Carpenter gets paid.
Yeah.
I'm sure Deborah Hill makes some money too. And then Mustafa Akkad, who is like the producer, I'm sure he makes some money. But then a couple years later, they wanted it to be on TV because, back in 1978, nobody had cable yet.
Yeah.
So I think NBC bought the rights to show it on TV for like $3 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but it wasn't long enough, right?
Oh.
They wanted it to fill a 2-hour time slot. So they went to John Carpenter, who was... Well, he didn't direct the second movie, but the second movie was being made at the same time. So they had some of the actors from it in one place, and they're like, hey, let's shoot some extra scenes for the movie, for the TV version. So there's a completely different TV version.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, it's not completely different. It's just got a couple scenes added. It shows Michael when he's a kid at the insane asylum. And it shows Dr. Loomis trying to tell them, like, he can't be put in a minimum security place. He's too dangerous. He has you fooled. You like my Donald Pleasance?
Yeah, but he doesn't talk, so I don't know how he's fooling everyone.
Well, he just seems docile.
Oh.
Because they were saying he was catatonic.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they'll move him to a minimum security place, and then that's how he'll break out later in the movie. But we didn't see that. And then there's another part where Jamie Lee Curtis's friend wants to borrow a shirt or something like that, but it doesn't really make any difference. But it made the movie long enough to be on TV. So what did you know anything about Halloween, or what did you think it was going to be about?
Well, I kind of knew the premise of it. Like some things that I knew is that there was babysitting involved. And there was teenage sex involved because there always is. And so in the beginning, I thought he killed his babysitter, but it was his sister.
Right.
But she was babysitting him. So that's what was the thing. I thought Jamie Lee Curtis was his sister.
Oh.
So, but that was before I saw the movie, and because in my head I was like, oh, he's going after his sister. That's why he chose her.
Okay.
But he's just going after babysitters. Okay.
So going into the movie, you thought Jamie Lee Curtis was his sister.
Yeah, I thought he was going after to kill his sister.
Right. Okay. Well, later in the series, they don't talk about it in the first one, but they sort of retcon it and say Jamie Lee Curtis was like his cousin or something like that, or an estranged sister. I forget exactly what, but that wasn't part of the first movie.
Okay.
And John Carpenter never intended to make any sequels to this movie. It was just, he was supposed to be one and done, but it was such a huge hit. They're like, we got to make a second one. Right. And then do you know about Halloween 3?
No.
That's the one where everybody says like, oh, Michael Myers isn't in it. It doesn't have anything to do with the Michael Myers story.
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, we don't have to get into that.
I don't really know anything else about any of the other movies. That's the only thing I knew, is that there was something to do with babysitters. And this is what I thought it was. He kills his babysitter when he's young, and then he grows up and he goes after his younger sister.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
But I had it backwards. He killed his sister and then goes after babysitters.
All right. So do you have anything that you want to just get out of the way before we get into it? Or? Questions, thoughts, musings?
Something that was real funny are the props in the show. The props are either like huge, like whenever like little Michael Myers has like the bloody knife, it looked like cardboard paint, like covered in tinfoil,
Right.
with blood on it, because the prop was not done well.
No, but I mean, we're in the world of high definition now.
Yeah. But I mean, like prop wise, like some of the props were like, I was like, really? That's what you're gonna use for the prop? But I mean, that's just me being picky.
Right.
But I still enjoyed watching him hold that huge ass knife.
Yeah. It's
a little kid.
Yeah, it's a good image.
Yeah.
When they pull the mask off of him and he's just stone faced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like it. Anything else?
No. This is all about the movie. I'll try to get into like the little detailed things as we go through.
All right. So the movie starts out in 1963, and we are outside a house in what looks like the suburbs or like a typical city neighborhood.
Yeah. Before we even see the neighborhood in the credits, it starts off with the song.
I forgot about the credits. Like, what did you think about the opening credits? I love it.
I mean, yeah, it really sets the mood for the whole entire movie. But like even introducing the song, I can't remember how it goes now. Yeah. So it really sets up the show really well. Can I remember specific images? No, but I remember that I was like, oh, it starts right out with the music, and it really sets the tone. Yeah,
it sets the tone, and it's good because the beginning half of the movie takes place during the daytime. A lot of it.
Yeah,
I mean, it starts out at night, but that scene is real short, and then it's kind of
the
like
rest of most of the movie is during the day.
Yeah.
It's not until the end when it's at night.
Yeah, so it's in this idyllic looking neighborhood. So the very opening of has that song, which is written in 5/4 time.
Yeah.
Which is really off putting. I don't really know enough about music to explain how the 5/4 time works, but it is very off putting and ominous.
Yeah. So like 3/4 time. That's a.
Is that the Zelda thing?
It is the Zelda thing. That's in 3/4 time. It's very happy. Like a lot of swing is like in like thirds.
Yeah.
So having having it into fifths. Like I've never. There's not a lot of songs that have it have 5/4 time.
Yeah, it's very strange, and I can't even think of another song that has it. But I would say like most pop songs are written in 4/4 time. So you have like 4 beats per measure, and then it's like what you would snap to when you're listening to a
1,
song.
2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4. Which is just weird. Like you would want 6/4 time.
Yeah. But that's why it's some like a pop song you can snap to it or clap along to it. But this song, it's like, how do you clap to something in 5/4 time? It's strange. It's weird. I wish I knew more about music theory so I could understand why.
Yeah, I don't know enough to explain it.
Yeah.
But it is very off-putting sounding.
Yes, it is. And then there's that really slow pan on the pumpkin.
Yes.
With a flickering light inside, and then all the credits are in orange. Yeah, it's really cool. I love the beginning.
Well, something that kind of is a theme throughout the whole movie. Oh, not a theme. It's like a little placement. There's always like a little jack-o'-lantern face on the porch.
But is there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, it's not like every single house necessarily has it, but most. Well, every time like he goes to a house, there's like a little pumpkin.
Oh.
Yeah, like the first house had it, and then we don't ever see the front of Jamie Lee Curtis's house, but we see the little boy's front of his house and across the street to the little girl's house. And I know that the little boy that Jamie Lee Curtis is babysitting, his porch had one.
Okay.
And there were some other ones too, but
Yeah, oh sure. It's supposed to be Halloween, so. Oh, also
his house also the little boy's house looked very similar to the Mike Myers house.
Also, another thing that go back to the song, people who aren't John Carpenter fans might not know that John Carpenter does the music for all of his movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you watch all his movies, there's a very specific kind of music that you hear with it. But it's all part
I don't really
of
know what else he's done. But
we remember The Thing?
oh.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite horror movies. The Thing. Oh man, it's so good. But yeah, he does the music for all his movies.
That's
And
cool.
it's that kind of like creepy synth. That's really great. Yeah. So then it cuts to 1963, and we are right down the barrel of a camera.
Yeah, so we're seeing through Michael's eyes.
Yeah, but we don't know that yet.
Yes, we don't know that. And then he walks up to, but you can tell like you're looking through someone's eyes. You just don't know whose. And then we see him go up to the window, and we hear his sister like say, "Oh, Michael's around here somewhere."
Did you think it was just a peeping Tom, or did you know it was Michael?
I figured it was Michael because I put on my notes, "Girl says Michael is around. Are we seeing through Michael's eyes?" Yes.
Yeah. But like the people who were seeing that movie for the first time,
like me,
ever. No. I'm talking about in 1978. Like you knew the character, and you knew that there's 100 movies of this guy, so you probably could guess. But
yeah,
somebody viewing it for the first time was like, "Who is this?
Who is this
peeping on these teenagers?"
Yeah.
So imagine what that would be like. You're probably assuming it's a full-grown adult.
Yeah, I was about to say it seems if I were watching this with not knowing about Michael Myers, this is the first time he's ever been introduced. I would think that is the killer, but they've just creep on and peep on people. Like
Right.
peep. They peep. Poop and peep. they like sneak peeks
Yeah. So
at teenagers doing doing it.
if they're both teenagers, it's not bad, I guess.
It's not weird, but it's still weird. Anywho.
Well, I mean, if you're turned on by it, then that's kind of weird. But.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're fooling around on the couch, and she mentions her brother Michael, but then he's like, "Hey, you want to go upstairs?"
And she's like, "Yeah, hell yeah."
So they go upstairs, and it's enthusiastic consent. They both want it, and then they're up there for like what
2 seconds.
2 whole seconds, and then he walks down, and
Buttoning his shirt.
and
He's like, I gotta go do this.
my favorite part is that she's like, will you call me or something like that, or can I call you? And he's like, yeah, sure. And he just walks out. It's like he's got post-nut clarity now. He's like, man, I don't even like this chick.
Oh my gosh.
It's so in his performance too. Like, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah.
So Michael is in the living room at this point. So he's walked into the kitchen. He's grabbed a knife.
Right. And he's put on a mask.
And I don't think he's put the mask on just yet.
Okay.
So the boy runs out, and then I think that's when he finds the mask. And then he puts the mask on when we go upstairs, and we see this like tunnel vision with like obstructed view because of the mask. Right. Which I thought was so clever.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It was really awesome.
Yeah, and it's creepy.
Yeah, and you know it's a clown mask. So like you're thinking, oh, okay. Why is this person putting this mask on? And then at the end, it's perfect.
Right. But also another thing I want to bring up is what they're using is Steadicam, which is a very common thing in movies and television now, where you have a big camera on a gyroscope and you can move it around and it moves real smoothly. But back in 1978, they were pioneering this at the time. So this is the first time audiences would also see a Steadicam like that. Point POV stuff like that wasn't around. So imagine seeing that for the first time.
Yeah.
And then he stabs her, right?
Well, he goes upstairs, and then she like turns around. She's like, Michael.
Yeah.
And then he stabs her.
Right.
So then we know it is Michael, her brother, her younger brother. She's supposed to be babysitting. That's stabbing her.
Right.
And so he stabs her like the stabbing was not very great, but I mean,
no,
but I mean, it gets the point across.
Yeah. John Carpenter said that he didn't want to have a really gory movie because he says the audience, their head will fill in what happens.
Yeah.
Like your imagination is going to be scarier for that.
The stabbing is supposed to be happening just outside of the view of the mask,
right?
Because the mask is obstructing that view.
Yeah, it obscures it a little bit.
But what I'm saying is like she was in view, and then he was stabbing over here. And it's like, what are you stabbing, her leg? So I mean, that was it. We could have seen her face, or even just have her yell,
right? And
then we would have gotten it, especially if we saw the knife go up and then down.
Well, we definitely saw her boobs.
Yeah, and they had to show that. They had to show her tits.
Yeah. So then Michael goes downstairs.
Is that the only time they showed tits?
In this, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Good job.
Yeah.
Not constant tit. I'm into it.
So then he goes downstairs.
Yeah, he walks
and his
downstairs.
parents have just come home, and they're like, Michael, and they
lift the mask off of him.
Yeah, and then
you see him dressed up as a clown.
Yeah, he's dressed up as like a clown, and he's got a big,
so
gigantic butcher knife.
Yeah, it was his little mask that he put on, which was kind of cute.
And then I like that the camera falls back, and you see it move back. Like I thought that was a really cool move. And then it cuts to 1978.
Yes. And Jamie Lee Curtis is leaving her house. Well, yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis is leaving her house to go to school.
Well, they show Dr. Loomis in the car with the nurse first.
You're right.
Right. So,
but we saw. I feel like we
forget that part. But.
Yeah.
No, I have it in my notes as that happens.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, this is our introduction to Dr. Loomis, played by Donald Pleasance. He was cast because he has a British accent.
Oh.
Also, he's a really good actor, and at this point, he had been doing movies for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 decades. He was in The Great Escape. That's what I remember him most from. And he's driving with a nurse.
And they're talking about, she's like, oh, he'll be fine. Like, this isn't going to be that big of a deal. And he's like, you need to take this seriously.
Yeah. The nurse does not seem to like him.
Yeah.
and
She's like smoking cigarettes and
yeah, and I can't remember what she says, but she does say something pretty snarky. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "I hate when they ramble," and he's like, "You won't have to worry about that. He hasn't spoken a word in 15 years."
yeah.
And he's saying how dangerous he is, and she doesn't believe him.
And then they pull up to the the psychiatric building, I guess.
Yeah.
And you see, because it's in the dark, so it's dark right now, and we just see the headlights like shining on like people in white
Hospital
gowns. And then she goes, "Do they just let them roam like this, like they're cows or something?" And I was like, "Bitch, these are fucking people." Doesn't matter if they have mental illness; they're still fucking people. But like, she was like, "Did they just let them roam?" And he goes, the doctor immediately knew like Michael did this.
Yeah, he does. He's very suspicious.
Yeah. So he's like, "Okay, we're going to go up to the front and we're going to get out." And so he tries to open the gate to get in, and the woman is the nurse is in the car.
Yeah.
And Michael, you don't see Michael's face.
No.
You just see his hands come.
He jumps on the...
He crawls up the back of it.
Yeah, and you can hear him up there, and the nurse starts freaking out, and he like breaks a glass with his hand and tries to grab her, but then she gets out and...
well, the window is down, and he starts grabbing at her, and then she scoots back, and then he pops the other side of the window.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
All of this whole thing was really well done.
You think so?
Yeah, I thought like it was suspenseful, but it wasn't like super jump scary.
No, it was not jump. This was before the time of jump scares.
So, if I was younger, I would have been scared, but I wouldn't have been like,
yeah,
like panting because of all of the jump scares.
I prefer horror. Alfred Hitchcock, who's kind of like the godfather modern horror, if you want to put it that way. He said suspense is the key to scariness. Like if people are in suspense, that equals fear.
Yeah.
You know, right? If they're afraid something's going to happen, you don't like jump scares are just cheap. But this like builds the tension, it builds the suspense. You know, we've set up that this guy's a murderer, and then like you see all the people walking around. You're like, what the hell's going on? Oh, he's on the roof. He can smash a glass with his hand. And then the nurse jumps out of the car and he gets in and drives away.
Yeah. I thought he was going to run her over, but he didn't.
No. That's another thing that would happen in a movie. She would die.
Yeah.
She would be dead because she never shows back up. All right. And then this is when they cut to Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes. And she's walking out of her house.
Yeah. And her dad is asking her to
drop off the keys to the Myers house.
Right.
Because he is going to sell the house to someone.
Yeah, he is a real estate agent.
What was the year at this point?
1978.
So they're now in modern, like, so it started in 63 and then now we're in 78.
Yeah.
So it's been a little over 10 years.
Yeah, 15 years.
Yeah, 15 years.
Yeah.
I don't know math. So he was like maybe 5, 6, 8.
Yeah, I think he's 21.
Okay.
So 15 minus 6. So he would have been 6 when he killed his sister.
Okay. So he, so we know that he's gone, and Jamie Lee Curtis is leaving. She's bringing the keys to the house, and we meet the little boy that she babysits.
Tommy?
Yes. And he's like, "Oh, what are we going to do tonight?" Because he's so excited because it's Halloween tonight. Also on the credits, it says it's 78, but it's also Halloween.
Right.
Halloween Day.
Yes, it is Halloween Day.
So he has a motive to kill on Halloween, I guess.
Yeah, it's I don't know if they said it in the movie or not, but it's like anniversary something. I forget. Something about you want to kill. He wants to kill on the anniversary of the first time he killed, or something like that.
But so she goes to the house, and the kid's like, "You shouldn't go up there. It's haunted." That's where the boogeyman lives.
Uh-huh.
Because people have lore about it because someone was murdered there. And so she's like, it's going to be fine. So she goes up to the door and she slides the key underneath and she's standing on the porch. And then we see inside the house through Michael Myers' eyes again.
Right.
We see her.
Yeah.
And he picked her just because she dropped a key off.
Possibly.
So he's just picking random people now.
Yeah. Well, we don't know what he's going to do because he doesn't talk.
Yeah.
We just sort of see him looking at her and he's like, is she meaningful to him?
Mm-hmm.
Does he want to kill her? Like, what's going on with this guy?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then she leaves. Like, he doesn't follow her or anything. He just, or I guess he does follow her, but we don't see it. And then Tommy goes to school and she walks down the street with her friends, Annie and Lydia, maybe. And the Steadicam follows her. Did you notice how green it was?
Like, what was green?
The street and all the trees and everything?
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
This is supposed to take place in Illinois, but it's like the greenest, most lush neighborhood because it was shot in Pasadena, California.
Oh, I didn't notice it.
Yeah, and they do a really great job of making it look that way because they dress people up in sweaters and they throw leaves on the ground everywhere. And then I think the pumpkins, like you mentioned the pumpkins, I think that's part of it too. But
yeah.
So she meets up with her friends and they're having like girl banter and talking about boys and dates and stuff like that. What did you think about the dialogue between the girls?
Well, I know that they're trying to portray Annie and her friend as like big hoes that are just trying to sleep with their boyfriends at the babysit, like at the house they're babysitting.
Well,
at.
I wouldn't call someone who sleeps with their own boyfriend a hoe.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, they're just like, they just want to have sex all the time.
Right.
So, I mean, that was what the banter was supposed to portray. But I mean, I was like, they're just teenagers. I don't really think anything about it. So with the banter that they had, are you asking me if
I'm just because it was written by Deborah Hill, who's a woman, even though I think John Carpenter wrote most of the script, but he let her write the dialogue between the girls probably because he's like, I really, as an adult man, I can't capture the
essence of what
the essence of teenage
girls talk about.
Yeah, so I just wanted, what did you think about the dialogue?
I mean, I didn't notice it, but
that's
probably a good thing because there are some times whenever there's dialogue written by men and I'm like, girls don't talk like that. Or people don't talk like that. So it was, they're setting up like, okay, we're going to go to your place. Like, so kind of schemy kind of thing. So you're going to come over. I'm going to go babysit and then we'll go over to their place and then we'll come back to mine. I think they set up really well that they're kind of using Jamie Lee Curtis a little bit to go do things with their boyfriends. Yeah.
And they needle her and she was saying something about she wanted to ask out a boy named Ben Tramer. So they're like, ooh, Ben Tramer. They're teasing
Annie.
her. Yeah. And she brings up that she thinks someone is following her. But they're like, oh, whatever. They're so one track mind. Like,
they're only thinking about homecoming and
hooking up with their boyfriends.
Getting hooking up on Halloween
which is
night.
It's totally fine.
Yeah. There's teenagers that do that. Like, that's
of course there are. That's part of being a teenager. You know, if you're lucky enough to get yourself a boyfriend or a girlfriend in high school, man, like, yeah, do that stuff.
I guess.
Be responsible.
Yeah.
But that's one of the best things about being a teenager is not having a care in the world.
So they're walking home and Michael Myers drives by them and he's wearing the mask.
Yeah, but they can't really see him
Him.
inside the station wagon.
Yeah. So he drives past them and he, well, actually right before this, before they leave the school, we see that Tommy is being picked on by these two boys. And they're
Right.
like, the boogeyman's going to come get you. And I was like, shut the fuck up, Donny Osmond looking motherfuckers. I was like, y'all are so mean. And y'all
Yeah.
look like Donny Osmond.
Yeah, and they trip him and he falls down and crushes his pumpkin.
Yeah.
Which
poor
I'm like,
big
how did
me.
he do that? Like, pumpkins are pretty hard.
Yeah, and he was pretty small. And then we also then cut to the doctor. Throughout these scenes that we've kind of skipped over, the doctor's been like, Michael's gonna do something. I know he is. How could you let this happen at the psych ward?
Oh yeah. He's having a conversation with another person at the psych ward, and he's like, you know, if you had just listened to me, this would have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like,
He's so quiet.
Yeah. But my favorite part about this is like, he goes, how would he even know how to drive a car? And Loomis goes, I don't know, but he seems to be doing a pretty damn good job of it.
And he says, maybe someone here taught him.
Yeah, but I like that his reaction to like, how would he even know how to drive a car? Because everybody's thinking that.
Yeah.
But he just sort of dismisses it. It's like, I don't know, but he's pretty damn good at it.
Yeah.
I like that they don't try to explain it.
Yeah.
They're just like, I don't know.
Yeah. Because I mean, that's a lot of life. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So then another scene we see the what is he? He's driving down the psychic. I can't say a psychic. What is his name? What is his name? The doctor?
Dr. Loomis.
Dr. Loomis.
Psychologist.
So he is driving down the road and he sees this truck off on the side of the road.
Right.
And he goes up to it and it's a mechanic's truck. And he sees the white hospital gown that Michael was wearing and he's like, oh my God, he stole someone's clothes and changed.
Mm-hmm.
And he got back in the car and drove away.
Yeah, and also they show him at a phone booth for the younger kids listening at home. There used to be random phones placed out in public that you could just,
go up to.
I'm being a dick, but yeah, I like that the phone booth was in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
It was like at a crossroads in a cornfield.
I mean, well, there was like a little gas station he was at.
Yeah, I guess so. But I just thought it was a funny placement for a phone booth.
Yeah. I mean, people in the country need a phone too.
Do they?
No. Yeah.
I thought you guys just used like a tin can and string.
That was the majority of the conversations were through tin can and string. But sometimes we would use a phone for long distance calls.
And messenger pigeons? Did you guys ever use a messenger pigeon?
I don't remember that part.
All right.
Anyways, so he sees, after we see that he's like picked up the hospital gown, he like throws it down. He's like, oh my gosh, I got to get to the town that he's going after. And then we pan back and we see a dead man.
Yeah.
Who we're guessing is the mechanic.
Yeah, that was the me in this story.
Poor
I know.
Joey.
If I were in this movie, I would just be a dead mechanic. I wouldn't even get a single line.
Poor thing.
But then he goes into town, and since he knows Michael, he's probably going to visit his sister's grave, right? So maybe he can find a clue there. And he goes and he finds the Undertaker, and they go find his sister's grave, and the gravestone's gone.
Yeah. And then the gravestone was like, oh, these kids. And he's like, well, whose plot is this? And he goes, what? 19, 20, 21. It's whatever Myers, his sister.
Right.
So he stole her headstone.
Yes.
That's what we're to assume.
Yeah.
So he's been following Jamie Lee Curtis, and then he's also stolen a headstone. He's stolen a mask.
Yeah, we found out that the hardware store has been robbed.
I thought it was a Halloween store because they stole a mask.
Because he said like he took a hammer and
Oh.
I think during
But no,
this
we don't
time,
ever see that hammer.
No, well, I think maybe it was rope, but he stole some like hardware stuff.
Oh, okay.
But I would totally believe in 1978, a small town, the hardware store would have a few Halloween masks.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Because they didn't have Spirit Halloween back then.
Mm-hmm.
They barely had that stuff when I was a kid. So we find out that he's stolen that, and we find out that Annie's dad is the sheriff in town.
Mm-hmm.
And then he tells them what's going on, but again, they dismiss it. But Jamie Lee Curtis seems to be suspicious still.
Yeah. And so then she goes home, and...
But after they leave, Loomis walks up,
Mm-hmm.
like right on their heels, and talks to the sheriff
Yeah.
about what's going on.
And then as the girls are leaving, we see the car that Michael Myers is in. Like, we know that he sees him because he slows down. Lumen is looking around, but he doesn't see the car. And then the car passes by, and then he looks the other direction.
Right.
So, like, it's showing, like, what I got was, oh, Mike Myers sees that that's him, and he doesn't want to draw attention to himself.
Right.
Because he, like, stopped and then waited. And then he turned away and he started following them again.
Yeah. You know, Jordan Peele?
Mm-hmm.
He directed Get Out.
Yeah.
Key and Peele. Funny guy. But he described Michael Myers as cat-like. Don't you think that's a good description of it?
Kinda, yeah.
Because he's sort of like, cats are like laid back and they're like silent when they want to be, and they kind of just sit back and observe, but they're also like really great hunters.
Yeah, they're waiting to strike.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, that's such a great comparison.
Yeah.
I always think about that now whenever I watch a Halloween movie, that Michael's like cat like. And that scene specifically is like he's just sort of driving by like, I see you, Sheriff.
Yeah.
I see you, Loomis.
Yeah. So he drives by and continues on, and then he parks his car, and the girls go inside of their house. Oh no, I don't really know why she gets in the car with them. I guess they go to the neighborhood she has a pumpkin with her, and then they go to the kids' houses.
Yeah. Well, she goes
home
for a little bit.
and then her friend picks her up, and then
Yeah.
we see them in the car where she talks to her shelf.
And then also we see Jamie Lee Curtis at school, and the teacher is lecturing, and she notices the car outside the window of the school.
Yeah.
And then she gives a bad answer to a question that the teacher asks her.
No, she's like, that is correct.
Oh, she was?
Yeah, it was a correct answer.
Oh, I don't remember.
But then also when she's at her house, she looks out of her window, and then in the clotheslines we see Michael Myers, and then she looks away, and then she looks back, and he's gone.
Yeah.
Which is a thing that he does quite often.
Yeah.
Like, you see him, you look away, you look back, he's gone.
Yeah.
Also
Yeah,
cat-like.
old school horror movie stuff. But they've just like slapped you in the head with it that like he's following her, and Jamie Lee Curtis is suspicious and scared, but she doesn't really know what to do, and everybody's sort of dismissive of it.
And then she lays on her bed to take a nap.
Right.
There's someone following me. Let me take a nap.
Yeah. And then we have Loomis and Sheriff Brackett go to the Myers house to investigate. And there they find a dog.
Yeah, a dead dog.
Yeah, and I love Donald Pleasance's line. He must have got hungry.
Yeah. And then the sheriff's like, I don't know any person that would eat a dog.
Yeah. You don't know my patient. He's pure evil, Dr. Brackett. Sheriff Brackett. It's just like everything he says about him is like, he's
pure
evil.
evil.
There's nothing behind his eyes. It's like, oh, is that your professional diagnosis?
Yeah.
He's evil.
Which, I mean, it plays well into a 1970s movie,
Yeah.
a horror movie. So Jamie Lee Curtis gets in the car. They run it to the sheriff, but then it become like they go to they go babysit.
Yeah, it's that evening. All the adults are gone to some swingers party somewhere because there's no adults around except for Sheriff Brackett
and the
Dr.
doctor.
Loomis. Yeah, but he's not from that town.
Yeah, he's not from there.
I don't. Where did all the parents go? I think they're at a swingers party,
Probably,
and they're putting their
keys
in a fishbowl, and they're taking a random partner home.
Not home.
Well, not home. Maybe to a motel. I don't know.
Maybe, or maybe just in the house somewhere.
Maybe. Totally swingers though.
So they're at the kids' house, and they're just kind of doing things with them, like little Halloween things.
Well, we have Annie is babysitting across the street. She's babysitting a girl, and Lori is babysitting a boy named Tommy. And Annie wants to go hook up with her boyfriend. So she's like, hey, you watch my kid for a little bit. Mm-hmm. Lindsay is her name. And so now you've got both kids over at Tommy Wallace's house with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
And they're watching The Thing from Outer Space or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And like Michael Myers has been watching Annie at Lindsay's house.
Right.
Because he's going to kill her first. Which is like, why'd you go after her first whenever you were going after Jamie Lee Curtis so much?
No, I don't know.
But I mean, we have no idea what's going on in his head.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I like. I think makes this movie good is like he's kind of unpredictable.
Yeah,
and doesn't you don't know what his motives are, and it's good. It's scary. And Annie is like doing laundry and making phone calls, and she gets stuck at one point.
Yeah, she gets stuck in the laundry room.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. Every time I see that, I'm like, what is going on? How did you get stuck in a laundry room?
I think she's trying to get out because the front door was locked, and then she was trying to get out the window.
Yeah, I remember that. But
I don't know how she got stuck, though.
I don't know. That part has always bugged me for some reason.
But the little girl, like, lets her in, and then she gets a call from her boyfriend. He's like, hey, my parents are gone. You can come pick me up.
Yeah, he needs to be picked up.
So she is like, okay, yeah, let me get in my car and let me pick you up. And she goes out to her car, and Michael Myers is in the car with her in the backseat, and he strangles her.
Right. And then slices her throat. But it's kind of hard to see.
Oh, he doesn't strangle her. He just straight up kills her.
I think he chokes her, then... Oh, I don't know.
I think he just strangles her with his hands the whole time.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure he cuts her throat, too.
I didn't see it.
But anyway,
Okay.
it's shot through the window. It's shot through a foggy window, so it's kind of hard to see. But that's on purpose, again, because he wanted people's imagination to run with it.
Yeah.
So then Tommy sees Michael through the window, and he's like, it's the boogeyman.
Yeah, and he's seen him several times already now.
Yeah.
And he's freaked out by him.
Yeah. And Lori doesn't believe him. But the little girl, Lindsay's like, I believe you. I thought that was pretty creepy.
It was so cute.
It was cute, but also like creepy. And you're like, I'm starting to get scared for these kids.
Yeah. I believe you.
Yeah. And then we find out that not Lindsay, Lydia?
Lydia? I don't know.
Is with her boyfriend, and they're hanging out in the most 70s van I've ever seen.
So they drive up in a van, and they go into Annie's house, and they're like, oh, she's also Michael Myers has dragged Annie to the house already.
Right.
So they go into this house where their friend is dead in another room. And like, I remember very specifically, they say, we're going to go in and go to the room on the left. Or something like that. There is a very specific room, and they've already like laid out what their scheme, their plan is for their little sexcapade. And so they go upstairs and they don't see Annie there, or they go in the house and they don't see Annie there, and they call what's Jamie Lee Curtis's character? It also starts with an L.
Oh, Lori.
So they call her and they're like, hey, have you heard from Annie? She goes, no, she dropped Lindsay off over here. And then she said she was going to go pick up her boyfriend. And so they're like, hell yeah, we got the house to ourselves.
Right.
We can go fuck. So they like start making out on the couch, and then they go upstairs later, and then you see them like finishing.
Yeah. And they have very fast sex too. And
I think it was like the end part of it.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the whole thing.
Oh.
But it was like Linda's like, that was terrific.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, I'm gonna go get a beer.
And she's like, give me a beer too.
Give me a beer too. And Mike Myers kills him.
Yeah, so he's downstairs and Mike Myers kills him by stabbing him in the stomach, like he lifts him up in the air and stabs him in the stomach, and the knife holds him. I was like, that is one strong knife.
Yeah, he pins him to the wall. And then he makes like he takes a sheet and cuts eye holes in it. This is
I know.
The weirder.
When I saw this part, I was like, what the fuck is happening?
I don't know. Whenever I feel a lot of times when John Carpenter goes for comedy in some of his movies, it just doesn't quite land.
Yeah.
I think he might have been trying to do something a little cheeky here.
Yeah. I definitely think that, but it just didn't work out.
No, it didn't work. And but anyway, I like it.
Because
whatever.
I mean, yeah, it's fine. But it was like, I don't feel like Michael Myers would do that.
No, he's not somebody with a sense of humor.
Yeah. So even if he was just in the mask, she would have been like, what are you doing? Stop it. You're scaring me. You know?
Yeah.
Let's do it again. But like he could have just been in his mask and the thing.
Yeah, because she doesn't know who Michael Myers is.
Yeah. And you can't see his face.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that at all.
So it could have been like super scary and still cheeky if she was like, stop it. You're scaring me. Look at my tits. You know?
Yeah, she shows him her boobs.
Mm-hmm. But we don't see them, which I liked.
Yeah. And then he strangles her with a phone cord right after she calls Lori.
Yeah.
So Lori picks up the phone and all she's just hearing is somebody being strangled. Mm-hmm. And she's like, what is this, a joke?
Because it sounds like she's moaning.
Yeah.
And you're to think, oh, it's like Lori thinks they're having sex. And
right.
she called her, which is just gross.
Yeah.
But she's being strangled.
Yeah. But also she seems a little bit suspicious. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think she... I thought I didn't see it as her being suspicious. I just saw it as like her being like, they're so annoying.
Okay. Maybe I don't remember.
I mean, you can interpret it.
Well, no. Here, halfway through this movie, I could not stay awake.
Yes.
I kept falling asleep over and over and over again, and I could not stay awake. I don't know what the hell was wrong with me.
You were tired. You were
I was
sleepy.
tired. It was Sunday though.
Yeah, sleepy pee-pee.
I haven't even been working or
boy.
anything. I was a sweetie boy.
No, a sleepy boy.
But anyway, so if my memory is a little bit spotty of the movie, it's because I was falling asleep, and I probably haven't watched this movie in like 10 years. But then she is a little suspicious of this is why I say this, because that's what caused her to go investigate the house. So she goes over there because she wants to find out what's going on with her pals. And
she calls again. Oh, but maybe she doesn't call the house.
I don't know. She could have. But anyway, she does go to the house. And while she's there investigating, she sees Annie's body with Judith Myers' headstone.
Yeah. So she walks into the room that Annie is in, and she's like sprawled out with like her face is contorted. So she like it's a dead body. And so she sees she starts like walking back. And then she falls into like the bathroom or something. And then we see the other girl's boyfriend. She sees his body, and then she like grabs a cabinet and it opens up. And then we see her other friend, Lydia or something. And she sees her dead body, and then she's like freaking out. So she's trying to get down the stairs.
Yeah, but then Michael shows up and cuts her.
Yeah.
And she ends up falling down the
stairs.
Like over the balcony part of it.
Yeah.
Like not,
and she hurts her ankle.
Yeah. And she gets hurt, but she's able to get out of the house.
But he's also like blocked all of the exits.
Right.
So that she can't get out. So whenever she goes to the window, because she's like, I'm going to open the window door, or like the door that's full of windows. There's a rake pushed up against it, so she can't open it.
Oh, right.
So he's purposely blocked her in so that she can't leave. But she like punches a window out and moves the thing, and she makes it just out in time. And so she starts hobbling down the road. And I think I know where the swingers are having their party, because that was the only house with adults in it. And she starts like screaming. She's like, let me in, like, help me. And they turn the light on, they look out the window, and then they turn it back off, and they go away. And it's like, that's where the swingers house is. They don't want her to see all the swinging that they're doing.
She's in trouble, but I don't want her to know that I'm fucking
her
my
mom,
best friend's wife,
her husband, or her dad.
So she doesn't have the key to the house. Mm-hmm. So she's banging on the door. And then as that's happening, you can see Michael start to walk around the back side of the house that she just escaped.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit, he's coming.
Yeah.
And she's banging on the door. She's like, Tommy, open the door. And
he makes it just in time.
Yeah.
Then she walks, so she goes in the house, she locks the door, and she goes, you need to go upstairs and go hide.
Right.
And then she looks over and she sees the wind on the curtains. So she's like, oh shit, the fucking window's open. He can get in.
Yeah, and he already is in.
Yeah. And so something happens. He like comes after her, and then she stabs him with a knitting needle in the neck.
Uh-huh.
And he falls down, and you're like, oh, he's dead. She thought he was dead.
Mm-hmm.
She also took his knife and then drops it next to the body. This is the first time we see the knife drop next to the body.
Right. And any time in a movie, horror movie, where somebody is scared or running for their life, when they make a dumb decision, it's easy to justify it. It's like they're scared.
Yeah.
They're afraid for their life. That's what I always say when they're like, why did they run upstairs instead of out the front door? It's like, because they're fucking scared.
Yeah. They don't know what to do.
You might do the same thing. You've never been in a life or death situation like that.
Yesterday I thought I was.
Yeah, what?
The other day, I was in our room and I saw shadows. So our room has one window in it, and we can see our neighbors' lights through the window.
Like a porch light.
Yeah, they're like their patio lights. They're the back patio. And so I can see like a line of light. And all of a sudden I look over, I don't have my contacts in, and I'm blind without my contacts. I have such bad vision. I cannot see anything. I can probably see an inch in front of my face, but I can see light, and I see the shadow walk across. And I was like, what the fuck was that? So I sit up, and it's not moving again. And I'm like trying to like feel around for my glasses. I felt like I was in a horror movie. And it was right after we watched this movie.
But it was a cat walking on top of the fence?
Well, yeah. Well, hold on. I was going to get to it. So I'm looking for my glasses. And I put them, like, I couldn't even find them. So I put my contacts in, which takes time. And I was like freaking out. And I was like putting my contacts in. And then I like stood up. And then I saw it walk behind me again. And I was like, oh my God. And so I went out and I looked out our window, and there was no one there. And I was like, oh my God, it's Michael Myers. I didn't, but my brain was like, what the hell is going on? Is someone outside of our house?
Yeah, it was Michael Myers.
And then I found my glasses, and I took my contacts out, put those on because I didn't want to wear my contacts. And I'm waiting for the shadow to pass by again. And it starts to pass by, and I hop up and I look out the window. It was a fucking cat on the fence.
Ooh, a spooky cat.
But it looked like a person without my contacts on. Like I saw like shoulders and a head. But it was probably its tail or something.
Yeah, probably.
Or maybe its head. But it freaked me the hell out.
Right.
Anyways.
So she probably thinks Michael's dead, so she goes upstairs to get the kids again.
Yeah, so that they can leave.
Yeah. And then he gets up and goes upstairs after them.
Yeah. Without grabbing that knife. He grabs another knife from the kitchen, I'm guessing.
Okay.
Maybe he already had it.
Yeah, and then he goes up there and she tells the kids to go
hide in the closet.
No, they go hide in the bathroom and she hides in the closet.
Oh yeah.
And he goes up there and it's one of those shitty closets with the louver doors that you could just like karate chop through. Like a 90-year-old could karate chop through this door.
But he's struggling.
Yeah, he is struggling. One of the kind of discrepancies of this movie.
Well, I think it's kind of funny.
Yeah, but it's suspenseful, so
yes.
It works. And then while he's trying to bust through these doors, she grabs a coat hanger and stabs him in the eye.
Yeah. When he finally breaks through. Because he's trying to grab at her.
Yeah.
And he has a knife still. Because then, like, she stabs him and then the knife drops in the closet. And she grabs the knife.
And also, while this is happening, Dr. Loomis hears screams because he's just been waiting by a hedge the whole movie for Mike Myers to come back to his old house. And,
well, he saw the car, and so he started going that direction.
Oh.
And then, so she stabs him in the eye, and then she grabs a knife. Did she stab him? Oh, then she, like, after she stabs him in the eye, he's still in the closet, and she takes the knife and stabs him again.
Okay.
I don't know if she stabs him, like, in the chest or the neck or where, but she stabs him, like, several times. And then he falls out. She gets out of the closet, drops the knife again next to him, and then she walks to where the kids are, and she's like, you need to go downstairs and call the cops now. And so the kids are like, but we're scared. We don't want to. We're scared. And it's like, well, it's scarier there. So they run out of the house and they're screaming down the road. And that's when Dr. Lumen hears them.
Oh yeah. And he knows which house.
And he's like, oh shit, that's where he is.
Yeah.
And they're like yelling, the boogeyman.
So then he gets up and starts attacking Lori again. And she starts to pull off his mask. And he's like, oh shit, she's pulling off my mask. So he reaches up to pull it down. And then that's when Dr. Loomis comes in and shoots at him, right?
I don't remember her pulling out his mask.
Yeah. She pulls off his mask, and then he reaches up to pull his mask back down. You see his face briefly, right? And what I like about that is, like, you see he's just a normal person underneath the mask. It's not like Freddy Krueger with the burns or Jason Voorhees, who's, like, disfigured. Or whatever. He's just like a regular looking dude. Yeah. But he just likes to have his face covered for whatever reason. And so Loomis shoots at him, and then he runs upstairs at him and shoots him some more until he falls out the balcony of the
house.
Right.
And then he leans over and he sees Michael laid out, and he's like, okay, he's finally fucking dead.
Yeah.
And she was like, is he the boogeyman? And he goes, yes.
I believe it was.
I believe it was.
I believe it was the boogeyman.
And then he looks back over the balcony, and he's not there.
Yeah. All right, so that it ends abruptly, which is perfect. It's got a real scary ending, and you're like, he's out there.
Yeah, he's somewhere.
Yeah, and that's
what's so fitting to, like, have a second movie. Like, it was placed really well to, like, have a second movie.
Yeah, it was, but also if there was never another movie made, it would still be good.
Yeah, because, like, also thinking, like, oh, he's still there somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe he's at your house. And you're babysitting.
But also, the Loomis has been calling him, like, pure evil this whole time.
Yeah.
So you're like, well, can pure evil be killed or whatever?
And he goes, no, it can't. It shan't be killed.
It lets your mind run wild. So it's a nice abrupt ending. It's scary. It goes out on a real dissonant tone, which I love. And that's the movie.
Yeah.
So, Erin, I gotta know, what is your no bullshit assessment of Halloween 1978?
So if you have never seen Halloween, I highly suggest you do. It is, I mean, it's not the best movie in the world, but it's a really great slasher. I feel like, especially if you're going to watch a slasher movie, don't watch a newer slasher movie. There's a lot of newer slashers that are just, boring and not good. Like, you see the origin of so like, because this was like one of the first like big slasher movies,
Right.
Like right next to like Psycho.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really great movie to see if you haven't seen it. Even if you have seen it, like it's a fun little, it's not super duper scary. So if you're like really skittish or like don't like scary movies, it's not that scary. So anybody could watch it and enjoy the movie. Yeah.
Hold on, I'm trying to look up something. Okay. So my favorite psycho slasher is Jason Voorhees. I grew
Yes.
up with those movies. I love them.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah. And then there's always been like a debate about who was the first psycho slasher. I know it wasn't Jason Voorhees.
Mm-hmm.
He's just my favorite. But a lot of people say Psycho is.
Mm-hmm.
Psycho is a groundbreaking film. It changed horror movies. But only, one person dies in that movie? Janet Leigh gets killed, and then I think that's it. I haven't seen it in a long time.
I mean, his mom is dead, but it's just creepy.
It is creepy. It's a great movie. I love it.
Yeah.
And it was also in the 60s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a long time ago. And then you flash forward to 1974, and you've got Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Super scary movie, way ahead of its time. Creepy as all fuck. But that's it. That movie comes out, and then there's not another one for like 10 years or something like that. And the second one doesn't even come close to living up to the first. And then people talk about a movie called Black Christmas, and I never seen it, but it also came out in 1974, but it's about a bunch of women in a house who are being stalked by a killer, right? And some people say it starts there. But I don't think that movie has a high body count, and no one talks about that movie anymore. Mm-hmm. People talk about Psycho. People talk about Leatherface.
I've never heard of Black Christmas.
Yeah, most people haven't. Unless you're, like, if you're interested in the horror genre, you probably know about it or seen it. But then in 1978, we have Halloween comes out, and it's a huge hit.
A huge
hit. And it makes a ton of money. And Friday the 13th is Sean Cunningham saw Halloween, and he's like, I'm going to make my own version of Halloween because he's trying to get, he's an independent filmmaker. He's trying to get his name out there.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm going to make my own Halloween movie, but it's going to take place at camp. And instead of like a psychotic killer, it's going to be somebody's mom who's pissed off that their kid drowned. Right. But it's a movie where a lot of people are getting stabbed to death, hacked to death with axes and stuff. It's got high body count. That is a direct reaction to Halloween. And then Halloween 2 comes out. And then Halloween 3 comes out, and it's not even about Michael Myers. And people are pissed. So they have to go back to making movies about Michael Myers. Then Freddy Krueger comes out, and there's a bunch of Freddy Krueger movies. And then they start making Leatherface movies again. And then the psycho slasher thing goes away for a little while, and then it comes back with Scream. Like we got all of that because of Halloween 1978 and John Carpenter. Not because of Black Christmas, not because of Psycho or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, even though all those movies are good. For me, the run of psycho slashers of the 80s starts with Halloween.
Yeah.
And that's why this movie is so important to me as a horror fan lover.
Yeah, so watch it.
Yeah, so watch it.
I would suggest, if people say, "Oh, I haven't seen Halloween," I would say you should watch it.
Yes.
It's a good movie. I mean, there's always flaws with a lot of horror movies, but I mean, it's because it's raw. No, I think it's because, like you said, what were those movies that you called exploitation films?
Yeah.
So it's similar to that. So like, there's going to be some flaws with it, but the point of it is kill as many people as you fucking can.
Yeah.
This one does a pretty good job. I mean, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people die.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good amount.
Yeah. And it's got that like independent spirit, like we're gonna make something great even though we don't have the money. Like you could tell everybody was wanted to do their best to make this movie, and they were trying really hard to make something good, and they did.
So yeah. Our last thing that we're going to do today is we're going to play a game. Joey, what game is that?
We are going to play Fuck, Marry, Kill Halloween Edition. So there's been a lot of Halloween movies, and as such, different people have played.
Different people. They played different Dr. Plumises. Oh my gosh, so we're just doing Dr. Loomis?
Yes. So we're going to do all three people who have played Dr. Loomis.
There's only three?
There's only three.
Okay.
Dr. Pleasance. Donald Pleasance played him in like 5 movies or something like that. He was in it a lot. And then the other 2 only played him once. But we are going to do Fuck, Marry, Kill Donald Pleasance as Dr. Loomis, Andy McDowell as Dr. Loomis, and this guy, Ranbir Satane.
He looks psychotic himself.
I don't want to spoil it, but they go a completely different direction with Dr. Loomis in that movie. So who's it going to be? We got Mustache Guy. We got
Mustache and Beard.
Beard Guy, Caligula. He was Caligula in that movie. And then we got Donald, respected British actor, Donald Pleasance.
Goatee. Well, I've never seen the other Dr. Loomises, so I don't know how they act. So just based off of looks.
Yeah.
Can I see the second guy? Okay, I think I'm going to marry him because... Well, I don't know, though.
This is Malcolm McDowell. I think I said Andy McDowell a minute ago. I meant to say Malcolm McDowell.
Of all of the Dr. Lumens, he looks the most attractive compared. I mean, I'm not into like old guys, but I mean, maybe I will be when I'm older. But like as of now, I would say he's the most zaddy of them all.
All right. He's got kind of like a silver fox look.
Yeah. Like a white fox.
Uh-huh.
He's like full white.
Yeah.
Can I see the first and third guy? Okay, I'm going to
Donald Pleasance.
Fuck Donald Pleasant. And then I'm going to kill that other guy because he looks super fucking scary.
Yeah.
And creepy.
Yeah, from the 2018 reboot.
Yeah, are there any other photos of him?
I don't know.
Well, what are these?
Well, they're all pretty much the same. Look at that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna stick to that. I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah, maybe next time I'll do FMK with people that you actually know.
That's okay.
Well, anyway, that's been.
Who would you fuck, marry, or kill?
Oh boy.
Of these three.
Okay. Well, let me see. Donald Pleasance is crazy in this one. He's just constantly running around screaming how evil Michael Myers is.
But he's trying to do it for the best reasons.
Yeah. But he's like, well, you don't want to be married to someone who's just always talking about work, you know? So I'm going to go ahead and...
Hey, is that a poke at me? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
You don't talk about work all the time. You're at work all the time.
Yeah. That's the difference.
But I don't care because you're bringing home the bacon. But
winner.
that the person who's obsessed with work or whatever, you have the one night stand with him, right? And then Malcolm McDowell was Caligula in another movie.
I don't know who that is.
He was like some ruler, and like it's kind of like a infamous softcore kind of exploitation movie. So there's a lot of sex, so that guy gets it on.
Oh.
But he actually, in this movie, he's nice.
Okay.
So I'm going to say marry him. He's got a good career going as a child psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning of the movie, he shows up with like long hair and like round glasses, like he's a hippie. Yeah, right there. And then this new one, he just scares the shit out of me. So the 2018 guy, so we'll kill him.
Okay, so we're the same.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good one. All right, so that's going to do it for us. If you want to write into us and tell us how you feel about Halloween 1978 and if it's important to you or you think it's terrible or whatever, it's joeyanderinpod at gmail.com.
And also, if you have not listened to Coming Out the Closet, wait, that's not what it's called. We're Coming Out.
We're coming out.
My brother has a podcast where he interviews LGBTQIA plus, whether they're in the closet or out, their stories. So if you want to hear about that, you can find them on Spotify and most other streaming platforms.
Yeah, and they're having fun over at that show, it seems like.
Yeah, they
Seems
are
like
having
they're having
fun.
a good time. Yeah, we'll put a link to that in the episode description if you want to check that out.
Yeah.
And we are going to continue doing Halloween movies because it's the Halloween time of year, Erin.
Yes, we are. We're doing a Halloween's movies.
Yeah, so
next week
we're
going
to
to do another Halloween movie.
We're going to do Halloween from 2007.
Ooh, isn't that the Rob Zombie one?
Yeah, that's the Rob Zombie.
I hate
one.
Rob Zombie.
I do too. So this is going to be a rough watch for us.
Well, it might be really fun because we're gonna obliterate it.
Oh, we're going to be taking notes on it.
We're gonna take so many notes.
Yeah, we might have to pause it a few times to clown on it.
Yeah.
I saw it in the theater with some friends of mine, and we walked out pretty upset.
Okay. I'm excited.
But that's all I'm going to say about it.
I'm excited now.
Yeah. So we'll see you next week. This has been
You Haven't Seen It?
See ya.